set up by the Barnsley FC Sports Trust. For those who don't know, Redfearn's Bar's been at Oakwell for 6 years, and we've been in the fan zone this season every game when the weather's been good enough to let us have some fun. It's volunteer-led. It's often cold. It's far from perfect, but we've got live music, player interviews, team updates, and a great atmosphere with a great team of volunteers down there. So all good. The reason we set this up, hopefully we'll do a couple of weeks for the next 3 or 4 weeks, is just to try and fill that giant Barnsley FC gap in our lives, where everyone's looking for a bit of football content and something positive. So bear with us. We can pour a perfect pint of Barnsley bitter, but we're not sure how good we are with technical stuff like this. So be kind and let's see how we go. So fingers crossed. Which brings us to former Barnsley head coach and conqueror of Wembley, Paul Heckingbottom. How you doing, Paul?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Ben. I'm all right.
Mate, it's amazing that you've agreed to do this. So thanks for giving us your time. We've gone out to different fans and different social media platforms and everything, and just asked for a load of questions. We've got some icebreakers to kick off. So we've got Disco on Tuesday. We've got Nardiello Thursday. So they'll get these same questions. They're not that testing, but just what does a week look like when you're in isolation for Paul Heckingbottom?
Probably the same as everyone else. You know, there's not much we can get up to. Difference is I've got trying to do homeschooling with 4 girls here, which is a bit of a nightmare. The World War III this morning, trying to get them to the Joe Wicks PE. So, yeah, not much different to everyone else. It's a bit surreal, a bit of a strange time. We're making sure that, well, I'm trying to get some exercise in, things like that. There's probably no excuse really to not be fit and eat healthy when you're at home. There's nothing else you can do. So, yeah, that's the type of thing. Making sure we get the homeschooling done, try and get some exercise, and just make the best of what it offers, really. Because it's totally different, isn't it? You know, it's no one's ever known anything like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange one. So, the second question is, if you got handed the top job at UEFA or the FA today, what are you doing about the rest of the season?
You've got to play it. You've got to finish it. You know, well, for me, you've got to finish it, and you've got to sacrifice next season off the back of it. So, whenever it's able to start, and I think football will start back before society and things get back to normal, but just be behind closed doors. And you know, season ticket holders should, for me, be able to get free subscriptions. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Oh, lost you there, Paul.
Yeah, I'm just saying. So I'm not sure. It'll certainly come back before society's back to normal. And for me, like, season ticket holders should get free subscription to behind closed doors games, and the rest can be pay-per-view things. I think that's the only way you're going to get it, get the season finished, get games back playing, because I think stadiums will be the last thing to open. You know, everything will be back, businesses, shops, everything will be back running to normal before anyone allows a 70,000 stadium to be open again and people to be in that much contact. So got to finish it, and whatever next season looks like, it looks like.
And do you have that same viewpoint if you're the manager of Barnsley or the manager of Leeds?
No, you're totally different, isn't it? If you're you're desperate for it, you're probably wanting it to finish now, aren't you? And say, as it stands, if you're up at the top, and likewise, if you're in Barnsley's position, you're wanting it scrapped, or minimum, you want the season to be finished and played out to give yourselves a fighting chance. But I just don't see how they can finish the season now and say that's it. No, you look at changes clubs have made. So Barnsley change a manager and make signings in January to try and help them stay up. Well, they've only had a couple of months of those players. So, you know, if you finish the season now, it's unfair. The season should be the 9 months. It should be a 40-odd games. And Barnsley have tried to rectify their situation by making signings. So it's got to be played out for them full 46.
Nice, yeah, I think I agree. And then the other topical one in football circles. So where are you on VAR? Yes or no?
Listen, it's here. I didn't want it. I'll be honest. I'll never forget the first time I thought it was before it came in, and watching the Champions League, City against Tottenham, that semi-final, if you remember. Oh no, quarter-final. And City score that injury time goal that things put them through. and I meant that the whole stadium went mad. Pep was going mad, and we knew it was going to be disallowed. Like, you know what I mean? We were lucky thinking, and I just put myself in his position, like as a manager there, even a player now, you see, but as a manager, you would never celebrate a goal. Because it's not a goal until 2 minutes later when it's been given. And that's what I hate about it. You know, you watch Match of the Day now when you see players, they score, and then they're looking around at each other like, just wait a minute. That's not right for me. That's soon fans will start doing that as well. So that's what I don't like.
We had it in that England-Holland game in Portugal where we all thought we'd scored. And then the celebrations are over.
It's here to say it's going to be because they'll throw statistics back that we're getting more decisions right, and we are, but we change the game too much. The other part of it is you're looking at the League Cup final. We're doing it all for offsides and whether it's a penalty or not, when it's still a subjective decision. Yet in that League Cup final, it was clear that it shouldn't have been a corner. Just give a goal kick. They let the corner stand because VAR isn't going to interfere in that yet, and they score from it. So there's lots of work to be done on it. It's here to stay without a doubt. There's lots of work to be done on it, but my biggest one is it's changed the game and for the worse in terms of the passion and the intensity of it.
No, great. So going back to when your Barnsley career first started, so you signed for us in January 2006. As a local lad and former season ticket holder, was that the move that you'd always wanted at that time, and was it an easy transfer to make happen?
Yeah, so easy. Yeah. Well, it's funny. The day I signed for Wednesday, because I lived at Montbretton, and so the day I signed for Wednesday, I'd literally just got home in the back garden. You could see out well from my back garden. And my agent rung and said, "You never guess what Paul Archer's been on, like they want to sign you." And I'd literally just put pen to paper at Wednesday. So I'm thinking, was that my chance? But then 18 months later, I get the chance again, and I was due to go down and sign for Bristol City it was a Friday. I was going to go and sign for Bristol City straight after training. It was all agreed, and then in training on the Friday, Paul Stewart came over and said, "Look, Barnsley have come in and they've matched what Bristol were going to pay. What's your thoughts?" And I said, "Can I go now?" So I just left training early and came straight across and signed. And then it was we played Port Vale the next day away.
Nice. So I did some research, and you played 442 games for 9 different teams, scoring a massive 15 goals, of which only one of them was for us. Can you remember that goal against Tranmere?
Yeah, header from a corner, and I remember it because it was a 1-0 away win. So it was a big goal, but it was also Paul Reed's birthday party that night, and we were all a good squad of us straight from Tranmere. We had some cars there. We went straight up the M6 to Carlisle that night, and with a few of the staff as well, and we had a night out in Carlisle. So that's another reason to remember that. So it was a good weekend for us. We got the win, I got the goal, and we had a night out for Reed's birthday.
Brilliant. And that first season, that went pretty well, I guess. So some fans might not remember, but Southend won the league that year. Colchester finished second. And it felt a little bit like we just got into the playoffs unnoticed almost. No one was really talking about us. Did it feel like that amongst the players at the time, that you were almost the silent assassins ready to go for promotion?
Yeah, probably because we were always sort of on the fringe. We were never one of the fancy teams. And looking from the start of the season to the team that finished, we sort of got really settled towards the back end of the season. But within the dressing room, there were big changeovers in personnel and things. So obviously Andy took over during the season, and the dressing room was changing week on week. And by the end of it, lots of people who weren't playing had left the club. And this is a big thing about football. They're great lads, but they knew they weren't going to play. And the best thing that the club did, and what Andy did, was move them on and allow them to leave early or move on to somewhere else. So all that was left in the dressing room were lads who had a chance of playing, were hungry to play. It was a really small, tight squad, and we were all fighting. So I think it was no coincidence that form picked up towards the end and were pretty strong, and we had a settled team, and then that helped us going into the playoffs.
And then this was the most asked question out of everything that came in. So that penalty at the Millennium Stadium, what's going through your head when you've got the ball and you're walking up? And did you go low because Heckingbottom had just blasted it over the bar?
Yeah, well, we practiced them a hell of a lot when we got to playoffs. It was new for everyone. I'd been in 2 before as a player. No, 3 before. Got beat in a final, got beat in a semi-final, and won the year before with Wednesday. So it was my 4th, and the staff hadn't been in any either. So they're only really me with any experience of it before. So we're all brand new to everyone. And I think in a way that sort of helped us. There were no, trepidation about it. Just fun and enjoy it and go and give your best. And we practiced penalties all the time with the walk up from halfway. Everyone trying to put each other off. And we knew we were going to be taking, and we knew we were going to take the penalties, provided they were on the pitch. So there were nothing. I was expecting to take one, and I knew I was going to be taking one. I knew which side I was going to go. So I think we prepared as best as we could. And then actually walking up, I remember I was always going to go to my left, the keeper's right. And as I put my right foot down to take it, he died really early. And it just seemed to go slow motion. So before I kicked the ball, I knew I'd scored. And in the end, I just ended up passing it in. So that was strange. And I'll never forget that feeling. Like, before I kicked it, it went. And I knew I'd scored before I kicked it. So, yeah, that's my biggest thing about that penalty. And then running on my way back, seeing some lads from Royston who are on the way back there halfway, and they were literally exactly where we celebrated. And a couple of them were lads who, when I were younger and run the Pack Horse Sunday League team, when I was at Darlington before I left to go to Norwich, they played in my Sunday League team, and I could see them in the crowd. So that were a nice bit as well.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice. And does Paul A, is he as cool as he looks when he takes a penalty?
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, you can ask loads of. I've seen some people do it now. I think Janino at Chelsea is one of the best at taking him. He's got that little jump, if you like. There's the same technique as Hazy, and we'd all try it, and none of us could do it. It's and likewise, we'd all go in goal for each other when we're practicing him, and you can't read where he's going to go. So he literally watches where you're going to go, and if you don't move, so you stand still, he's already got his side. He'll just pass it to one side. So the skill is really hard. I couldn't do it. None of the lads could do it. But if you can master it, you're going to score far more penalties than anyone else.
Nice. And then you played for various teams, and then you ended up back at Oakwell in a coaching capacity. Who approached you about that? Did you speak to Barnsley first, or did someone come to you?
I started. I'm trying to think where. I think I finished when I left Mansfield. They were still full time, and I couldn't play anymore. When I left Bradford, my hamstring were no good, and I couldn't play. I couldn't train full time. I left and went part time to Gateshead, and I started coaching. Finished my badge and coaching part time in the academy at Barnsley. Then volunteering with the 16s first on a Monday night, and then they asked me, could I commit to doing a team on my own the year after. So I took the under 14s with Ian Clark, Jordan's dad, and I was still playing at Gateshead. So that's how I got in. And then started at uni. I was doing things like that. So I was at uni. I was coaching at Barnsley College, doing the college teams, taking an academy team, the 14s. I was at uni and I was still playing, so I was out every day, all day. And Sunderland offered me a job. They offered me the 21s role, and it was tough and probably silly at the time, but I didn't take it because I wanted a full-time role at Barnsley. But there were no jobs. But luckily enough, the end of that season with EPPP and things, it meant that they needed to set on new coaches, and Ronnie and Bunny, so Ronnie Branson, Mark Burton, approached me about the under-18s role. So it worked out well for me turning that Sunderland job down. So it meant that I could go in there full-time doing the under-18s.
And then from there, you got the caretaker job, not once, but twice, when you took over from Lee Johnson. How did you approach it that second time? Did you know you were going to have the job for the season, or were it literally a week by week?
No, it was different. So I did it with Mickey when Flicker left, and me and Bunny did it when Danny left. And we sort of I knew the club were talking to people, so you're doing it for a bit of time. But it was different this time. Jono left, and it was a different chat from like Patrick and Ben. And I didn't want the job, but I was pleased to do it. But just because I knew they weren't speaking to people, I thought they're going to want me to do it here. So I did have to approach it different. I did have to approach it as if I was going to be doing it for longer. And it was easier doing that way because it was me on my own sort of making the decisions. So it made it easier for me to approach it that way. And then obviously I think we picked up in form. We just got to the Johnson's Paint final. I think we were still about 14th or something in the league. We were still bottom half anyway. But we beat Bury 3-0. We started winning games, and I knew then that they weren't speaking to anyone. So it was a case of, right, need to just approach this long term here. But at the same time, I've been offered a job with the FA to go and work with their national teams. So, which I would have taken if I weren't doing that role with Barnsley. I couldn't, even though I didn't want the Barnsley manager's job at the time, I couldn't walk out to take that job when I was doing that. So yeah, great, and said, look, wait and see what happens. We're here for you in the summer. But just the way it went, and then getting promoted, there was not a chance I could leave after that.
And did you tweak much from Lee Johnson's set up tactics?
Well, we changed to a 4-4-2, which I'd been doing that in the under 21s anyway, and we'd been speaking to staff at the start of the season. For me, we were always playing decent football that season, but it was so easy to play against. Teams were having 20 odd shots on our goal every game, and that's what changed. We tightened up a hell of a lot. We had Longy in there though, but Longy left. I think his last game was Jono's last game. But I'd been doing a lot of work with Robbo, Mark Roberts, George Williams. They'd been playing for me a lot in the 21s, so it was easy for me to just put them straight in because I thought they were good enough. They knew what I wanted from them, so we actually got better then defensively again and just kept keeping clean sheets. So that was the biggest thing, the biggest change of the season. We had good attacking players, but we were just too easy to play against. So we had to be really strong in the middle of the park. Did a lot of work with Connor in his role in the middle. And then that meant that if the back four was strong and the midfield too could dominate the middle of the pitch, as wingers could play that little bit wider in Adam and Izzy, and we could always play with two front men. So while everyone thought we were an attacking team, we were attacking, but we were only effective attacking that way because everyone understood the role without the ball, and we became really hard to play against.
And we went on that incredible run. And that saw us sitting top of the European ball table. We were above Real Madrid, Celtic. Was there a particular game where you thought, nobody's stopping us now? We're going to get in the playoffs. And we're going to win it.
I remember there's a couple of moments. So we beat, like I think we were 14th, 15th. We took over. I remember we played Coventry 2 months in at home, and they were a good side, and they'd slumped a little bit, and they were just above us. And if we beat them, we could move above them and go in sixth place, a big jump up. And we beat them 2-0 at home, and we just looked so strong against them. And I knew at that point that we'd get in the playoffs. I knew we were good enough. There were other teams then went on good runs. Southend were up there looking strong. Millwall were sort of tailing us, finishing strong. But I knew then that we were good enough to get there. And then I think there was a game at home when George Williams scored a 94th minute goal against Peterborough 1-0. And little moments like that in teams, and how the lads celebrated and how the fans celebrated. That was you put yourself back to when you're playing, like in terms of momentum. Yeah, no problem. But then switched that. I think we played Colchester last home game and we drew 2-2 after dominating the game, and everyone were down. It was last game against Wigan away, and everyone were down thinking, "Oh, that's it, we've blown it." That's Patrick, Ben, the fans, everyone I saw. But we weren't players and stuff, because we had no doubt we'd be able to go and win at Wigan. So I think probably from that Coventry game at home when we'd been on really good form and we beat a team who'd been up there all season and beat them really well. So we knew from that moment.
Speaking of that Wigan game, we had to go there and win and get a playoff place, which was the same as when you had to game at Walsall. How did you approach that game with the players? And what were the scenes in the dressing room like compared to when we beat Walsall back in 06?
Yeah, I can't remember the Warsaw game. I'll be honest. It was only when people were talking about it that season, because I'd played in that team, when people were saying what had happened. I couldn't remember the game at all, so I can't remember that one. But the Wigan game, approaching it, like I said, we were really strong without the ball. As good as we were with the ball, we were really strong without the ball. And Wigan were a team that liked to play out, so I thought it played into our hands. And I remember, again, we were just going to get after them straight away. But we didn't do it the first 20 minutes. And the first time we did it, we took the ball off and won a penalty, scored. 5 minutes later, we did the same thing, we scored again. And we 2-1 up away at half time. I remember going mental at half time at the players, especially the attacking players, for just standing off them too much. And I think it was a big moment for the players as well, and a big moment for the players who were with us the year after, because the point was, it don't matter who we're playing against, this is how we play. And they'd run away with the league, but they weren't as good as us. And I think it was the approach in the second half, and the players just ran over the top of them. And that's what mentality I wanted them to understand, that it don't matter who we're playing, it's about how we approach it. And regardless what team we're playing, how they play, this is how we play, and we play with no fear. So that was the big thing from that game, and it was an important game for the playoff games then, and also for the next season.
So we're in the final. Let's be honest, we're also in that sense.
Yeah.
But been knocked one victory already at Wembley. Did you prepare differently?
The two games, yeah, because I remember that the first game, the Oxford game, it was new for everyone. I'd not been to the new Wembley. I'd played one of the last games at the old Wembley, but not been to the new one, so it was different for everyone. And I remember we went the day before, when we were down there, we went into Wembley and we did a lot of like visualization, if you like. I got to play. We rehearsed the final team talk, the final like sort of words from me, and then the music coming out onto the pitch, and we did the walk out onto the pitch and the lineup and things like that. And we actually got the music off Wembley, what would be played when we walked out. So we rehearsed everything that was that we were going to do the next day against Oxford. It didn't work, because we were rubbish first half and we were getting beat, but that was the approach. But then the second time we went with Millwall, we'd done it all before. We knew what it was about, and we knew we could win there, because bigger picture, the Oxford game was massive. In that season, it was big, but also in the history of the club, the first Wembley win, you know what I mean? The first cup final win at Wembley. It was like a real, if you're someone who's a Barnsley fan or a Barnsley person, it's the most important moment in club's history, arguably, behind the FA Cup win, but which was elsewhere. So it was really, really important. But in smaller term, in terms of that season, it gave everyone the confidence and the belief to approach that Millwall game as just another game and take that form into it.
And during that Millwall game, did you notice what was going on in the stands at the end of the game in that last 15 minutes, or was that oblivious to the players on the pitch?
I remember turning around and looking at it and seeing the Millwall fans across the top running across, and I think we'd just gone 3-1 up, and it was. I remember that feeling when Izzy scored that header, and I nearly jumped into the fans. That was the closest I ever came to like jumping in the fans when we scored, and that's it all over, because we were so on top. Even though Davo made a big save before, but we were so on top. And then from that moment, probably 4 or 5 minutes later, Millwall fans are behaving like that, and I remember it went from like it soon passed, but it did spoil it at that moment. What they're doing, you know what I mean? It did spoil for that split second, then couple of minutes. It spoiled the game, and I had to like really catch myself watching there, or think I'm getting distracted and really focus back on the game.
So we got promoted, and it felt like we took to the Championship seamlessly. It was just so easy. We started really well. We played some good football. And one of the questions that came in was, that was a bit of a turnaround from being bottom of League One 12 months earlier. What do you think changed in some of that group of players that went from bottom of League One to beating Wolves 4-0 away in the Championship?
Yeah, well, initially for me in League One, it was we were too easy to play against. Like I said, 20 odd shots on your goal is just not good enough. and we never gave ourselves a chance. And when you're a team near the bottom, you can play good football after that, but when you're behind, you generally do look to be on the front foot then and take more risks. We needed to be able to strong while still taking risks to try and get in front and score goals. So that was the first initial change. In terms of the Championship, I said about mentality in the Wigan game, and it don't matter who we're playing, we're just going to have to attack and run over the top of teams. And we took that belief forward. The difficult thing was, or some difficult thing, pleasing thing, most rewarding thing was, of that 20-man squad that went to Wembley, at the end of the window, so at the end of August, we'd lost 12 of them. So we were doing it with 8 players who'd got up there, who took us up. You know, Alfie had gone, Josh Brown had gone, Izzy had gone, Fletcher had gone. Big players for us in them last, 12 games of the season or whatever. And we had restrictions on what we recruited, so we recruited well on character, but we had a style of play which helped us recruit players who we thought could fit in. We wanted athletic players with pace, and they came into a team then, like I said, 7 players who'd finished that season strongly, plus Scowie, who we knew could have played in that team anyway. They came into a hungry group of players and lads, and a hungry staff that were driven and pushing them. So there was only one thing going to happen, really. They were going to work the socks off and do the best they could. And I think we just caught teams out a bit, if I'm honest. And then after, when teams sort of figured us out a little bit, we had to go again. And from probably October, November, beginning of December again, we came really strong again.
And when we were just on the cusp of the playoffs by January, and without going into all the ins and outs of why we sold players in January and contracts expiring and everything, did you fancy our chances of getting promoted or getting in the playoffs if we kept that squad together?
100%. We'd have been there. I remember we beat Birmingham away 3-0. They were third. I think it took us up to 6th, 7th, I don't know, 7th-ish. And we were either 6th, 7th, but the 2 teams directly next to us were Huddersfield and Reading. And at that time, in that league, watching all the games, Huddersfield had a real clear style of play. Reading had a real clear style of play, and we did. We were all different, but you could have put us in any colour kit, and you'd have known a Barnsley team, you'd have known a Huddersfield team, you'd have known a Reading team. We were really strong. And we weren't at the top, but we were sort of like 5th, 6th, 7th between us. And we sold, all our goals. We sold as talent, and they recruited 1 or 2 players each. And then I'm on holiday in Portugal, watching them 2 play in the playoff final, and one of them go up. So that's a big disappointment. Listen, the reasons behind it, like I said, but that's a big, a what if moment. That's a big what if moment. I remember watching the video the boys did on the promotion season to the Premier League. And the quote was, "It'll never happen again." And I'm like, "You're joking, mate? It nearly happened last season. It could have happened last season." I honestly believed that at that moment, because we had such a hungry group of lads, and we had a way of playing which was really important, which we built over time, and we could have, we could have been up there challenging, definitely.
And I'm sure you weren't fully supported, but did you understand why players were being sold at that time?
Listen, we couldn't keep them at that time. We'd missed the boat, if you get what I mean. They were never going to re-sign, and the club's decision was, well, we need to get the money in we can for them now, rather than lose them for free in the summer. But in all honesty as well, once the players knew the type of money they could get elsewhere, there was no way that they were going to sit about and not get that move, Yeah. And I wish them well. We'd missed the boat. It's like anything, any sort of business. It's all about talent and recruitment. So you're still looking at talent within your building. When you talk about recruiting in windows, a big trick is if you know the value of your talent before anyone else externally, you can get them and you can get them tied down. And we didn't, and I agreed and understood why we didn't tie him down in the summer, because we didn't know where we were. But before long, we knew how good a players we had. And we missed that boat. That was the window. getting them tied down before the players knew what were out there, before the other clubs knew how good our players were. Once that had passed, we had no chance because we couldn't compete financially.
And then so we get to the following summer, and there's more wholesale changes because players have left. And I guess the one question that everyone asked was, do you think we'd have been mid-table if we'd have managed to get that McBurney signing over the line?
That was a tough one. That paperwork was messed up, and like I said, everyone's always. But we banked on that, and the effort that went into that, like that deal was getting done the end of the season before, and you know, I remember tying in the LMA dinner with Ollie's agent and sorting it all out in May. And there's lots of stories behind that deal, and for it to go right down to the last 5-10 minutes was a joke, really. But we could have still got it done, and we just messed up on the paperwork. And Ollie had actually put a deposit down on a house. He trained with us, deposit down on a house. He thought he'd signed for us. So it was tough on Ollie as well.
So do you think that single mistake made or broke our season then that year?
Yeah, he was. Well, how many goals did he get? He got almost double figures in the rest of the season. He
got player of the year.
There you go. And there's just something about him I like. He's listen. You need to be on him. I still speak to him now. You need to be on him. But I like that edge about him. I like how he plays the game. The other thing is he can score goals, all different types of goals. And if you're on at him, he wants to do well. You've just got to really be on at him and drag the best out of him, because he's got something that you can't really coach, which is that goal scoring ability.
And then out of the players that you had that season before you left in February, who did you know was going to go on and have the most impressive career outside of McBurney? Who else was in that squad that you really rated?
In that second season, probably Harvey. Harvey was a big one that we got. Harvey Barnes. Because I knew obviously Kenty. Excuse me. Kenty was the big one who, from the moment I took over in February in League One, I was trying to talk to Liverpool about, and we managed to get him then in July. And then it was similar with Harvey. Harvey was finishing the season with MK Dons, and the way he played fit how we wanted to play. One thing that nearly did us in really was he went away to the Toulon tournament with England and did really well. To put him on other people's radar. Obviously, him and his agent now want to see what's out there. But the good thing was we were the first ones who said we wanted him. We had a clear plan for him. We knew where he'd play, and he was really impressed with that. And his agents had seen what we'd done with Kenty and things like that before. And they also looked after Matty James, who we'd done a good job with. So they were really keen for him to come. So Harvey was a big one, and he was still a baby then. If you think back to how he played, he could be anonymous for lots of time in the games, but he was involved in all our best moments because of his quality that he had. He had that ability in the final third to just make something happen and create. And there were lots of other parts of his game where he needed to work on. You know, I watch him now, and he's worked on lots of them, and he contributes a hell of a lot more now throughout the 90 minutes. But he was someone who was really good to work with.
And fans love to know this. Was there any players during those two seasons in the Championship where they slipped through the net? So signings that we thought were going to happen that we might not know about, or players that you really rated that you were like, damn, I can't believe we didn't get them through the door?
Yeah, look, listen, Sam Morsey was a done deal in that team that were doing really well. So when we lost all those players in January, it was also agreed Sam was coming in, the deal was done, and we messed about on that, and we missed out on Sam, which is frustrating because he was the type of player we needed. Baldock was a good one. It was Sheffield United now right back. We thought we had that one done, and we missed out on that because, again, the type of player, the type of lad he is, he would have been excellent for us. But we had a real... And at first, people thought of it as, and this is where people thought because we didn't have money and we only recruited young, that it was a handicap. And listen, all it did was narrow our focus in the pool of players we could look for. But over time, I probably became, in that group of players, had the most knowledge out of anyone in the championship on those group of players. So by the end of it, you could see it as a plus and as a strength that these limitations we put on ourselves, while they might have been frustrating to start with, they were actually a real strength in the end, because we could make good sound decisions on a real small, because we didn't have the resources to go and look and find out about every player, but we could be the best about this little pot of players we've got. But then where we needed to improve then was make sure that if we identified 2-3 players in this pot, we couldn't argue over £200-300 a week. We had to make sure we went and got them players, and that was the next stage that we needed to get to.
So at this point, and there's no denying it, there's probably only 2 teams that were worse than where you ended up in February 2018. So that move to Leeds United, how quickly does that happen, and how much time did you think about it? How much consideration did you give to that move?
None. I'd already told CEO at Barnsley that I was going next time, just through things that were happening at the club, that because I could have gone before, but I never wanted to, and he knew that. Never wanted to. I wanted to stay. But it just became, and you know what? I'd love to speak to them, find out exactly if they think I knew what was going off, and when we were signing players and things, I didn't have a clue. So somewhere it was broken, and it just got to the point. I said, right, next time, the next one that comes, I'm off. And it was literally the following week, 2 weeks, that Leeds came, and it was all done within a day. Then, so I weren't really in the right frame of mind to be going and speaking to another club about leaving, because my mind was made up. They could have said anything to me. I was off. I was going anyway.
And how was that 4 months at Ellen Road? How much of a whirlwind was it?
It was good. Listen, all experiences are good experiences, and it was it was good. So my mistake was my mental approach going into it. Like I said, just I knew I was off. There could have been any club I was going, no matter what situation they were in, no matter what I was offered, I was going, which is not a good position to put yourself in, really, when you're going and trying to make the best start. But it was good, and people say about how chaotic it was, how much of a basket case of a club it was because of things that had been going off before, and it wasn't really. It wasn't far away. The big problems that what I walked into were there were too many players who weren't good enough. There were lots of good players, but too many players who weren't good enough, and then who were blocking the pathway of the good younger players. So that was the main takeaway from that, and the staff, and lots of staff who'd been there through the bad times who didn't really like the club. So they were the 2 big changes: too many players and too many staff who didn't like the club. But it was it was good, and listen, enjoyed it. Be good. I've got a good relationship with the people who were there anyway, and wish them well. But it was probably just the wrong time. It would have been a good club to go to, but I went at the wrong time, and I went because of the circumstance that Barnsley and I were left. I didn't have the right approach to it either.
So no regrets on making that move.
No, none at all. I mean, my mind was made up. It would have been any if it could have been, I don't know, Mansfield. If they'd have wanted me, I'd have gone. You know, it was, my time was up. My time was done at Barnsley, and that's what I said. It doesn't change about club and things. It just, in terms of work and making decisions on principles, which I know I do, and it's not always the best thing to do. Not, you should be thinking about it. You can maybe be more strategic and think about your career and things a bit more. But for me, if things need to be done or said, you've got to say them or you've got to do them.
So then Scotland beckoned, and did you apply for the Hibs job, or did they approach you? How did that work?
A bit of both, really. It was a case of, so Neil Lennon left, and it was I remember it was a strange circumstance how they left, and we were trying to find out what had gone off, because he was on gardening leave. But at the same time, they'd been doing some doing their own work on probably who their next manager they wanted, and I was one of the people who they've been thinking about. So it's a bit of both, really. I was much more cautious and asked much better questions before I started at Hibs than I did Leeds, because there've been opportunities to get back in before, but they weren't right. And I felt that Hibs was, if it was what they said it was going to be good, and I was right. It proved right. I walked through the door, and it was exactly what I wanted it to be. The people were great, and it was exactly what I wanted.
And this was a really popular question. So, where do you rank Scottish football in comparison to leagues in England? So, the Scottish Premier, is that Championship? Is that League One? Where does it sit?
It's the spread's much bigger. So you look at Rangers and Celtic at the top who are competing, and you've seen it in Europa League, Rangers still in there. So that's the calibre of where they're at, and probably one of their big strengths as well is the fan base. So when they're a powerful, they could play Premier League team at home, Celtic Rangers, and beat them any day of the week. I'm not saying they'd be up there in the Premier League by any stretch, because I don't think it would be, but because of the fans and the support and the size of it, they can beat anyone on the day. That's how big they are. And if they came down to England, they'd only get bigger and better and just go huge. But then you can be playing away at teams like Livingston supports, like, it's 1,100, 1,400, on an artificial pitch. Like, where does that rank? That's probably it's like Harrogate Town. But the players are strong and the players are good, and they've got a style of play which is really direct. Gary Holt's doing a fantastic job, but they look like a League One team, and so it's the spread is so big that you couldn't just say it fits in with the Championship, because there's some teams who would be relegated from the Championship. You've got Celtic, Rangers who'd be, huge clubs in the Championship. So that's the biggest difference there, is the spread of the league, the different styles of football, the way it's refereed, the fans are, it's still intense. It's not got the money of down here. So one of the things I really enjoyed is the intensity on the sideline, and how involved the fans still are with the clubs. So there's lots of positives about the games and about Scotland. And it was good. It was a real good experience to go up there.
And speaking of all the managerial rumours that were going around before you joined Leeds, were you ever close to being Sunderland manager?
Probably not close. I probably could have been, yeah, but I weren't close. No.
How would you have handled this?
I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave Barnsley. Some of the things that were said, where I could have gone or who come in for me, were wrong, and some of the things happened that no one knew about. And one of the reasons I went back to my old agents when I was playing is because when you start doing well again and managing, people are trying to approach, and I didn't want to leave, so I used them as a shield, if you like, and everything could just stop at them. But the problem is, it's when it gets in the media or when it gets to fans and you get asked about it, then there's no hiding place from it, is there? So it's just easy for me to just bat everything off and deny everything. But yeah, I could have gone a few times, but I didn't want to go.
And what about this documentary? Would you have let the film crew in open arms, or would you have been like, absolutely no way?
Well, the Leeds one there, yeah.
No, if you'd have taken the Sunderland job.
Listen, that was that's a tough one. It was, I mean, Robbie Stockdale, who I went up to Hibs with, he was involved in that, and he's probably one of the few who came out of that with any sort of credit. Like, it was a strange one to do. I look at Man City's, and it was good, but it was very heavily manufactured to make City look fantastic. Sunderland certainly wasn't. So it was a tough one. Yeah, it was a tough watch, if I'm honest.
Right, so we'll just finish on a few general bits that came through. So this is a bit of a technical one. So, having seen the club from the point of view of a fan, player, coach, and head coach, how do you rate the academy, and what place do you think they have in future success? Are they going to be able to produce first team footballers for the Championship, and can it ever be value for money?
Yeah, well, I don't know what it's at the minute. I've not been down for a bit. young Marshy, Aidan Marshall, I know I went to school with my lad, so he's in and about it, in a good prospect. But for me, academies are strong, but only if they're run right, and only if the club values them, and only if the club have got a structure which promotes from within and gives them every opportunity. And then you need good staff. You need good staff in there who know what they're doing. In my time at Barnsley, we obviously used it massively, whether it was lads who come through from 9-year-old or lads like Brownie who've been recruited in at 16. So there's certainly a place for it. And it's too easy just to say it's this or it's that. You have to involve it in every decision within the club. And Barnsley's done well over the last, like I said, in that little block. But it was worked at, and there was a purpose behind it, and there was thought behind it. And we still weren't great. There's still areas we could have improved massively. So for me, every club, I believe in it, should push their academy, but you need good people in there.
Yeah, makes sense. I love this question. If you could go back and relive the promotion with Barnsley, would you do it as a player or as a manager?
Manager, just because that's easy. You never, 2 Wembley wins, the way it went, it'll never happen. You know what I mean? It was amazing. Plus, I can't remember the one really what I played in. So, yeah, I'm hoping I can remember the one I managed in a lot better, like 20 years down the line, whatever.
Well, it's two more questions because we've got the some people will be going for the NHS applause at 8 o'clock. So, what's your what's the best back four you've ever played with, and who goes in goal? And you can't name yourself at left back because you're head coach.
The best Barnsley back four.
Just the best back four. Make your own fantasy back four of players you've played with.
Oh, yeah, I remember I read this and you sent it through and I didn't think about it then either.
Who's the best keeper?
Keeper. Well, I played with Greeny, Robert Green, who was excellent. He was in great form at Norwich, before anyone really knew about him. He'd not been in the team long, probably second season, and you knew he'd go on and be top draw. So, yeah, probably Greeny, because it was obviously weren't at his peak in terms of everyone knowing him, but as a player then you knew he was going to go on, be Premier League and stay in the Premier League. Right back. Wow. Right back. Maybe Darren Kenton at Norwich as well. He played centre back, but he was a better right back for me. Real athletic, really quick. Yeah, probably Darren Kenton at right. Centre backs. Oh no, maybe right back Simon Francis, young lad. He got in the team at Bradford, the 17-year-old. But probably Simon Francis, yeah, probably Simon. Again, you knew he was going to go on and be top draw. Centre backs. Who would I put centre backs? Probably Malky Mackay and Richard Ord. So Ordy was a left-footed ball player. There's not much pace between them, but Malky would pop up with a few goals, and Ordy had a wonderful left foot. And then left back, probably Mickey Gray. Probably Mickey. He was a winger when I first went to Sunderland, but they moved him back to left back, and he was the reason then I never got a game there and ended up moving out. But Mickey, again, yeah, he probably was. He had a better career at left back than he would have had if he'd have stayed as a left winger.
And then last question: what's next for Hecky? Have you had any job offers since you left Hibs? Where are you looking to go next? Yeah,
I've had job offers. Yeah. Do you know what? Well, let's just have to wait and see. And it was nice to be back home with the family because they stayed down here while I was up in Scotland for a year. So it's nice to be back down with the family. But you have to wait and see. Yeah, I'm not going to take a job just because I want to be a manager again. I've got to want to work for who I'm going to work for, and that's it. Whether it's a manager, whether it's a coach, whatever it is. But it's going to be delayed now, isn't it? With these strange circumstances, nothing's happening, nothing's changing, and everyone's in the same boat as me as it stands. So it's not too bad at the minute.
And can you see yourself back at Oakwell one day?
come back all the time to watch. All the time.
in a professional capacity.
No, yeah. Listen, I'd love to, but it probably won't happen, and it certainly wouldn't be in a role that I've done before, you know. But if ever I can help Barnsley out, I'll try and help them out, you know. But at the minute, it's just good to come down and watch and be a fan and see my mates and watch a game with my mates and be like, and just let it be like it used to be before anyone knew I was, because I'd not played for them at that point and certainly not managed them. It's nice to just get back down when I can now.
Love it. Well, look, mate, thank you very much. That massive thank you from everyone at the Supporters Trust. That was amazing.
No problem.
Because everyone needs a bit of time to get outside for 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But last couple of bits from us. So just a quick shout out to our good friends at Acorn Brewery, because they've set up a contactless safety first click and collect service. So while we can't buy any beer from them right now in the fan zone, everyone else can. So loads of details online for those guys. We're back on Tuesday at 7 o'clock with Martin Devaney. Nadiela's confirmed for the Thursday after, which is good. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, there's some kind of bell icon somewhere that will set up a little notification. So hope you've enjoyed that. Hope it's something a little bit different while we're all staying indoors. Hecky, thanks again. Really appreciate it.
Good luck, everyone.
And we'll see you on Tuesday. Stay safe, stay inside. See you later.